Hi guys, my name is Star, and my group is in charge of Chapter 1. And Chapter 1 is called What is Deviant Behavior? And I'm going to start off with a brief introduction. So, in the book, the author is saying that the word deviant has a lot of different meanings that people in the sociological community kind of disagree on. So, for example, some sociologists think that a deviant has to be someone who breaks social rules and causes like anger or disapproval by the masses. And then some other sociologists they think that a deviant is a person who is devalued by society and is labeled by others. But the two main perspectives that are taken are called the positivist perspective and the constructionist perspective. So I'm going to be explaining to you the positivist perspective, and I've broken it down into three little sections like it has in the book. So the first one, the positivist perspective, it's absolutism. So it's deviance is absolutely real. So sociologists who consider themselves positivists believe that what makes a person a deviant is intrinsically real. So, for example, early criminologists believed that criminals were born criminals. They had like a biological trait in them that made them a criminal. Therefore, once someone was a criminal, they were always a criminal. However, today positivists know that biological and psychological traits differ from person to person, and they can't be used to differentiate like criminals from non-criminals. Um, However, the way they view it now is a person's status change across time and space. So the example that was used in the book was a person who is seen as psychotic in our society could be viewed as like a spiritual leader by the South Pacific people. So nevertheless, whatever that person has as a deviant, it's a real thing. So the second little bullet point I have is objectivism, deviance as an observable object. So sociologists who are positivists, they try to observe deviance as objective, as an object, pretty much. So they try to kind of do it like how natural scientists would do. They they take the person and they use them as an object and they analyze them using statistics, clinical reports, surveys, and self-reported behaviors. However, these sociologists know that this way of gathering information isn't a way to, it doesn't reflect all deviance, but it's a really good way to get an objective perspective. And then the third bullet point that I have is determinism. Deviance is a determined behavior. So, in the book, the author was explaining how back in the olden days, the sociologists they thought humans had like no free will over their behaviors, kind of like animals or plants. But that kind of contradicted determinism. So today, sociologists know that humans have free will. But the example that they used was kind of like a woman who killed her husband because he was abusive would be a deviant. And even though she had the free will to choose to kill her husband, it was all of the contributing factors around her that led her to do that. So positive sociologists believe that factors like these are what contribute to explaining a deviant's behavior. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Diana, and today I will be presenting the constructionist perspective of Chapter 1. Within this perspective, there are three different views: relativism, deviance as a label; subjectivism, deviance as a subjective experience; and voluntarism, deviance as a voluntary act. So, starting off with the first one, relativism, deviance as a label. Its basic definition is stating that something is deviant because a group of people believe it is. The main questions that are being asked in this view is why and what society finds to be deviant and how these societies label these acts solely on their beliefs. When it comes down to studying such deviant behavior, constructionists tend to study the people who label what deviant behavior is rather than studying the deviant the deviant people who are being labeled. They do this because they want to understand why certain behavioral acts are seen as criminal versus in other places where it's not. A great example of this are state laws and how state laws differ from state to state and what they consider criminal versus non criminal acts. Um, Constructionists have also come to the conclusion that a deviant behavior is seen as deviant by people's reaction to the action. But this is a cause of a conflicting point of view on whether it's just being deviant or being conforming to the matter. Our second point of view is subjectivism, deviance as a subjective experience. Its basic definition is deviant behavior is subject to the matter of the act and the people themselves, since humans are cautious thinking, feeling, and reflecting. Therefore, it is more on their own personal experience. Constructionists, when studying deviant behaviors, are more empathizing to the group or the individual who is being labeled a deviant. Um, Constructionists basically want to step into their shoes and live a day to day life to see what causes a person to do a deviant act. Is it them, or is it their surrounding and their society that pushes them to do or act or behave a certain way that society as a whole finds it to be deviant? Um, So basically, when doing this, they tend to do more on like on one-on-one, in-depth interview with the participant, or they just basically observe and follow them, like I said, in their day-to-day lives. Our last point is voluntarism, a deviant involuntary act. Its basic definition is constructionists believe that the deviant behavior is voluntary and it comes from an expression, will, or choice. Constructionists stand by the statement because the positives see that the subject in the matter is not having free will and basically reacting to one's environment. But since we as humans have choice and we react to certain situations in certain ways, this is why it's seen as a voluntary response. When studying deviant behavior in this perspective, constructionists tend to view the figure that labels um, that labels a deviant behavior as what is deviant themselves. They also study the way the person feels when doing the deviant act to fully understand their perspective. So, in like in a recap, voluntarism is basically kind of viewing the deviant to see how they react to when others are trying to label their behavior or their actions as deviant. And they basically are stating that the person who does this deviant act does it out of free will, that they weren't pushed to do it. It was just basically their natural reaction to what was happening to them, excuse me. But yeah, those are basically the three points of views within the constructionist perspective.
Hi guys, my name is Omotayo. I will be speaking on how positivist and constructionist view deviant. The positive perspective consists of three expectations of what deviant behavior is. One is absolutivism. Deviant individuals have certain characteristics that make them different from normal people. The second one is objectivism. Deviant people can be studied objectively like observable objects. The third one is determinism. Deviant is caused by forces beyond an individual control. Positivists view deviant as real behaviors. Their approach is more relevant to the study of what society consider relatively serious type of deviant behavior, such as rape, murder, kidnapping, and people who engage in this act tend to come from the lower class. The positivist researchers, for the most part, will not consider themselves fit for committing a deviant act. So it is simple in this way for positivists to remain aloof from the offenders, and they can easily study deviant behavior without being biased or feeling guilty. Constructionist perspective view deviant as a label. This form of deviant is less likely to harm people such as prostitutes, drug users, and strippers. There is a lack of agreement as whether the less serious form of deviant are truly deviants because people label it as deviant. In this way, constructionists can more effortlessly feel for this assumed deviant and consider the last emotional experience helpful for understanding deviance. So descriptive theory can be developed also. In conclusion, powerful people are more likely to label the less powerful as deviant, and being labeled deviant by society leads people to see themselves more as a deviant. We may see deviant behavior as both a genuine demonstration and a label. One can't exist without the other. Basically, there is no such thing as deviant behavior without the real heart. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lilith, and my presentation is on a word about deviance and crime. Sociology of deviance includes crime but does not deal with crime per se. These are two different concepts, but the one affects the other. Criminology covers crime and is highly influenced by the sociology of deviance, thus determining how crimes are created and how deviance acts as a supporting element in identifying an unlawful action. Crimes are often involved in a violation of law, and this makes the difference with deviance. Deviants only fulfill how people deviate from norms, which can either make them violate the law or not. Crimes are also a violation of formal norms, which are set as a law or states to maintain public peace and order to the society. Deviance, however, is confined to all norms and is often a violation of informal norms that comes from popular beliefs. While crimes are punished through imprisonment, fines, and formal controls, deviance is only punished public criticism, condemnation, ridicule, and negative reactions from society. Crimes are also behavioral where the acts create are only violation of the law, and therefore the actions are unacceptable by the law. This consists of committing murder, robbery, and theft, as well as slander. On the other hand, deviance is not only promoted by behavior but also by physical or psychological conditions, beliefs, and characteristics, as well as mental illness. Not all deviants are crimes, but all crimes are deviance, because deviance is the actual violation of informal laws and is often conveyed to non-conformity of the individual from the rest of the society. It does not equal to being criminal or acting criminal activity. However, crimes are deviant because it's not only indicate non-conformity of the norms, but also a subjection of violation the law to fulfill one's desired goal or activity. This yields that our crimes are deviant because it is the norms of society to follow the laws. Thank you.